Hello and welcome back to T1D Academy. I'm Harold Martin, your host. Before we get started, I want to take a quick second to thank my son, Liam. Liam is the video editor for this channel, and I think he did an awesome job on the first video. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this video and in the future of this channel. I'm really proud of him, and I'm excited to have him help on this project going forward. Having him involved with the T1D Academy was very important to me. It gives him ownership, it gives him a voice, and it keeps him invested. Not just in the channel, but in his own type 1 diabetes journey as well. Liam, you are my inspiration, and when I grow up, I want to be just like you. All right, let's get started. So this video is focused on one specific part of the type 1 diabetes journey, the diagnosis period. That stretch of time when something just doesn't feel right with you, or you see that something is not right with your child. Questions start piling up, fear creeps in, and life feels like it can suddenly take a turn upside down. If you're watching this video, there's a very good chance that type 1 diabetes has recently entered your life. Maybe your child was just diagnosed, or maybe you yourself were recently diagnosed. Or maybe you're still in that uncomfortable space where you know something isn't right, but you just don't have the answers yet. However you got here, I want to start by saying this very clearly. You are not alone, and you are not doing anything wrong. You didn't cause this, and you're not failing now. Every family and every individual who is themselves diagnosed with type 1 diabetes goes through the diagnosis period. And it looks a little different for everyone who gets it or everyone who is involved in the circle of type 1 diabetes, but emotionally it tends to feel very similar to everyone. You have a lot of confusion. There's a vast amount of fear, a lot of fear, mostly of the unknown. You have sadness, guilt, anxiety, anger, many times anger, a lot of times anger, and you're exhausted. If that sounds familiar, what you're seeing right now and what you're feeling is completely normal. Just understand that. And while it may not feel like this yet, this phase that you're experiencing now does not last forever. When I talk about the diagnosis period, I'm not just talking about the moment when the doctor says you have type 1 diabetes. I'm talking about the entire stretch of time leading up to that moment, and the days, weeks, and even months leading after the official diagnosis or following the official diagnosis. It's the phase where you know something isn't right, and it starts there, but you can't quite put your finger on it. And then through the official diagnosis, and then beyond the official diagnosis, suddenly you're expected to learn an entirely new way of living almost overnight. Now let me share my family's personal diagnosis story with you. What this period looked like for my family. So Liam was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes on February 29th, 2016. In just 15 days or so, he will have had type 1 diabetes for a decade now. And at the time, he was only 2 years of age. Looking back, the signs were there long before we understood what we were seeing. He was constantly thirsty. He woke up multiple times during the night and would ask us all day for water. And his thirst never seemed to be quenched. His diapers would nearly immediately get soaked after he was changed, and they would start leaking nearly immediately. At first, it just seemed odd to his mother and I, and then it became concerning, and eventually it became really scary. And around that same time, he was sick with a norovirus, just a stomach virus. We were told by the doctors that he was also dehydrated, which confused us because all he did was drink. And so we tried Pedialyte, which of course you know contains electrolytes, hoping that that would fix some imbalance that he may have been having in his body, and think that maybe his body was missing that. But like many families, we were trying to fix a problem without really knowing what the problem was. So on the morning of his diagnosis, we noticed his legs and feet were severely swollen. And when I say severely swollen, I mean normally his legs at that age were probably that round at the age of 2. And that morning when he woke up, they had swollen to 2 to 3 times the diameter of what his legs and feet usually were. And so we knew there was something seriously going on. And that was the moment we knew that we needed to get him checked out by more than a pediatrician. So that day, my wife took Liam to the emergency room while I stayed home with our other children. And after a few tests, we were given the official diagnosis that really changed everything from that day forward. So February 29th, 2016. That's when the doctor told us he has type 1 diabetes. Now again, before that, the phase consisted of us being confused about what's wrong with him for probably weeks or potentially a month leading up to that official diagnosis. We had taken him to the pediatrician multiple times. There was never a finger stick done on him to determine whether he had type 1 diabetes or not. As most pediatricians, they don't consider that. And so it was not ever done with our child. We spent the next 5 days in the hospital learning how to manage Liam's disease, which can be life-threatening without proper care. Learning about things such as finger sticks, injections, basal, bolus, carb counting, blood glucose numbers. The list just goes on and on and on. It felt like learning a brand new language, except you're expected to be fluent in that language nearly immediately. And guess what? The tests start immediately. As soon as you leave the hospital, that's when the tests start. None of that felt natural to us. None of it felt intuitive. It was overwhelming, and it felt like we were being asked to absorb really a lifetime of knowledge and information in just a few days. And that's really what it really comes down to when you're newly diagnosed and you've never had exposure to type 1 diabetes. So when we finally left the hospital, we felt really completely unprepared. For weeks, maybe even months, it felt like we were just reacting instead of truly managing. Blood sugars were all over the place, what we call roller coasters, when they go severely high and then they go low and they go high and they low, and you're constantly treating the ups and the downs. And at the time, the high number scared us, but the low number scared us even more because we had it put in our brains from the doctors and the endocrinologists in the hospital how severe lows can be on the body and can put them into comas and potentially death. Early on, especially at such a young age, every single decision around his type 1 diabetes management really felt like a life or death decision. Because in many ways, it was. And Liam was also, during the time, which is typical, very insulin sensitive at his young, small age. And so even very small doses of insulin, we're talking 0.05, could at that time were causing or could cause dramatic blood sugar drops. At that stage, I wasn't really managing his diabetes. I was responding in real time, doing the very best that I could with the information that I had at that time. The days were full of blood sugar roller coasters, and my job as a parent was simply keeping him safe while I slowly brought myself up to speed and learned more about what type 1 diabetes is and how you treat it and how you manage it. How to set the settings correctly, how to watch for patterns, how to watch for how his body's reacting, etc., etc. The sleep routines during those early stages changed completely and instantly for me. For the first few weeks, potentially months, I can't remember anymore, it's been so long, but I would set alarms every 30 minutes throughout the entire night. I would wake up, I would go to him and do a finger stick, to check his blood sugar level. If he was low or going low, I would treat him if necessary, and then I would go back to sleep. That process, I would rinse and repeat the entire night, every 30 minutes, all night, throughout the end of the night. Throughout the end of the night for days, weeks, or even months following that. Again, a decade later, my memory is not great, but I remember it being a constant sleep deprivation on my part just because of my fear. And in a sense, it's an unreasonable fear, but if you're a parent and you don't have what's called a continuous glucose monitor where you can see his numbers on a meter that you can just wake up and look at, you just don't know. And if your child is sleeping, it could be peacefully sleeping or it could be something else. And so that was the dilemma that I was facing and all parents face. So if you've ever woken a sleeping toddler to get them to eat or drink something because they needed some form of treatment during the night, just know that process was exhausting, daunting, emotionally heavy, and heartbreaking, really in more ways than I can express. And if you're doing that right now, just know that you are doing the best that you can and you're not failing. You're surviving. The diagnosis put a lot of emotional strain on our family in ways that nothing else had ever done before that. We had children with medical conditions before this, and my wife and I have always been partners, lifelong partners, troopers. We stick together, we endure things together, we persevere together, we fail together, succeed together. But this was a lot more emotional stress than ever before. It felt like type 1 diabetes itself carried enormous weight in every decision that we made. And living in that space constantly is incredibly heavy. And it's not something anyone is prepared for ahead of time. It's impossible to be. And in those early weeks and months, days, weeks and months, we tried to voice our frustrations, not in front of Liam. When things felt overwhelming or when Aaron and I disagreed, we would try to step into another room and talk about it privately. But let me tell you, we were not perfect. The frustrations bubbled over and they were real. We had some really big arguments early on because we just had different management styles. And we had different concerns and different fears. And we had different things we were worried about. And we had different obligations. We had different things in our own lives with the other children and with ourselves that we were enduring, both of us separately and different. But again, we always stuck together. We pushed through together. We learned together. We made mistakes together. We had successes together. And we kept moving forward together because we knew that that was what was best for our son. Early on, we made a very intentional decision as a couple for the emotional well-being of both of us, and because we still had other children who had needs themselves. And they also needed care for and attention. We agreed that I would become the primary caregiver and take the lead on really managing the day-to-day diabetes management that Liam needed, while my wife continued focusing on caring for our other boys and really keeping the rest of the household running. And that clarity helped us more than we realized at the time. Once we clearly defined our roles and understood our lanes, it reduced conflict, lowered stress, and allowed each of us to focus on what we needed to do without second-guessing every decision, or without second-guessing each other's decisions about the management of the type 1 diabetes management. It was about doing what worked for our family to keep the conflict to a minimum and to ensure that all of our children were cared for in the ways that each one separately needed, whether one with type 1 diabetes or not. Now, if you're watching this video and you haven't received an official diagnosis yet, but you know that something isn't quite right with either yourself or your child, and you suspect that it might be type 1 diabetes, I now want to take a few minutes to talk about the symptoms. And not everyone gets every symptom. You don't need to check every box to possibly have type 1 diabetes. Sometimes even one or two of these symptoms is enough to warrant getting yourself checked out and tested. Things like constant thirst that never really goes away, frequent urination, including waking up multiple times at night, or observing your young child soaking through their diapers very quickly. Extreme hunger, unexplained weight loss, even though someone may be eating normally or possibly even eating more than usual. Deep fatigue that sometimes doesn't match activity level. Blurred vision. And from the emotional perspective, things like irritability, mood swings, trouble concentrating, or just a persistent feeling that something isn't right, either with yourself or with your child. Now, in young children, some of these signs can look a little different. For instance, bedwetting after a child has been potty trained can be a symptom. Or it can be something that you may want to watch out for, right? Accidents happen. But if it's happening now more regularly after they've been potty trained, that's definitely something that you should keep in mind. Very heavy soaked diapers in babies and toddlers is definitely a classic symptom of type 1 diabetes. Your child may get diaper rashes or yeast infections that first make no sense, but secondly, they don't clear up. They may begin to either gain weight or lose weight. There can be big swings in appetite. Sometimes they may eat constantly, and sometimes they may not want any food at all. And while the signs can look a little different by age, symptoms can often come on quickly both in children and in adults. Things can escalate over days and weeks, not months and years, which is why so many people that are diagnosed look back and say, wow, it all happened just so quickly. And that was really the same in our case. In adults, symptoms can sometimes creep in more quietly. Constant thirst, frequent bathroom trips, especially at night, ongoing exhaustion that doesn't match or improve with rest, blurred vision, repeated infections or cuts that seem to take longer than normal to heal. Many adults chalk these things off to just stress, getting older, or just being run down, which can delay diagnosis. If any of these sounds familiar, whether you're seeing it in your child or you're feeling it in yourself, it's important to talk to a medical professional as soon as possible. Trust your instincts. That gut feeling that you know something just isn't right with either yourself or your child matters. If you're newly diagnosed, or even if the diagnosis happened a while ago and you're still processing it, I hope that in some way my family's diagnosis story has helped you in some small way. There's a lot to learn, but you don't need to learn everything up front now, and you don't have to have it all figured out immediately. But I told you our story because I feel like hearing the real and raw stories of others who had already walked this road, to me, would have meant the world when Liam was first diagnosed. And it would have made me feel a lot less like I was isolated on an island by myself. Now in the next video, we're going to go over some of the common biggest myths around diagnosis and why people get type 1 diabetes in the first place. We'll talk through the most common things that you hear early on from friends, strangers, work colleagues, and some of those may have some basis in science and in fact, but others are just completely made up. They're ideas that are just thrown out there. They make no sense. There's no basis in fact. They don't help anyone, and often they make dealing with and treating and managing type 1 diabetes even harder than it needs to be, especially from the emotional perspective. Before wrapping up, and as a disclaimer, which I'll always give on my channel, the content on this YouTube channel is provided for educational purposes and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. I am not a doctor or a licensed healthcare provider. Everything shared on this channel is based on mine and Liam's personal diabetes experience within our diabetes journey. You should always consult a qualified medical professional regarding diagnosis, treatment, or medical decisions. Until the next video, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And remember, you've got this. And if the future Liam is watching this, Liam, I just have one message for you, and that is 143 AI +1. Thank you and have a great day.